Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Buck and 2MC show. We are coming to you live right now with an update of the frustrating and disappointing loss that we just watched our Lady Vols experience. But we also want to look at the positive vibes of it. But y'all know we're going to give it to you raw. We're going to give it to you honest, and make sure you stay engaged. Press that thumbs up. Press the like button. Make sure you share. Maria, we know you watched the game very, very closely. How was post-game meeting? What did that look like?
You're sad. And Lex, I can hear you, but you've frozen up quite a. Your image is frozen, but I can still hear you, so that works. It's tough when these final games in, and you see the seniors walk out, and Renaya is obviously emotional. Kelly was holding up until I asked her. She had said a while back we had asked her about telling these seniors goodbye at senior day, and she said, "I'm not ready to do that yet. I'll talk about it when we get there. I'm just not ready to think about that day." And I mean, she got emotional. She had tears. I mean, she said, "I love this team, and that this is awful. It's gut wrenching to tell seniors goodbye, and of course, that's sports. I mean, one of those teams is going to walk off cheering, and one of those teams is going to walk off that NCAA tournament court in tears. And that's men and women's tournament. I hate to see the kids cry. I'm old enough to when I see those kids cry, I mean, I'm like, man, no matter who you play for, I hate to see those tears. So they were emotional. I mean, complimentary of Michigan, fully aware of what they didn't do. In terms of execution and 17 missed layups and things like that. But you know me, I'm always on the kids' side, and I choose to look at what Renaya and Cassie and Jaden in her limited time, what they did here, what they did for Tennessee, particularly staying when they could have left with a coaching change. But is it a disappointing loss if we're a former Lady Vol like you, for Lady Vol fans? Absolutely. That is not the way anybody wanted Tennessee to go out in 2021.
Yeah, they did well. They did, as you said, better than we really expected them to do this season. In Coach Kelly's second season, and COVID, the pandemic, all of that craziness. I'm happy we got where we got to, but obviously I'm frustrated and upset because in my head, as y'all know, I have us going to the Final Four. I have us competing, further into March for the championship, and I'm proud of them. They fought hard. It was a little bit too little, too late, and that's the outcome. I didn't really say okay, we're not going to get over this hump until it was like a minute and something left in the game, because my freshman year we blew a 16-point lead, 4 minutes left to go in the game. So I'm thinking we can turn it around and be the ones to come back and get the victory, but we just couldn't pull it off, unfortunately. But keep your heads up, ladies. Congratulations on a great season for the seniors. And yeah, I just it's personal to me, guys. So I'm like still processing what happened, and I'll probably go back and rewatch the game tomorrow, to be honest.
You sound like Kelly. She's being asked. I'm looking at the stats. I mean, Michigan was 23 of 60. Tennessee was 21 of 62. Michigan did not shoot that well, but here's your difference: 6 of 20 from the arc, whereas Tennessee was 2 of 14. And once Tennessee, I've seen it with teams happen before, and I've even seen it with experienced teams. Once those missed shots start piling up, the other team gets that energy. They hit a couple big shots, and you can literally feel, I'm sure you can feel it as a player, you can feel the momentum of a game swing. And it's hard to get that momentum to swing back.
Yep, it is. And I love what who said this in Renee, she said she was saying 5 stops, 6 baskets until 140 to go in the game. It's funny because one of my friends came over to watch a game with me, a fellow coach, and I kept telling him, I said, man, 5 stops, 5 baskets. That's going to take that momentum swing, cause a timeout, and then we come and we continue to do work. So, Renee, we're on the same page. It came down to defense. You got to get stops. Even though the game, we came out strong. The ladies had a great start. And then Michigan woke up. And they went on their runs. It was back and forth. And then they kind of just took over the rest of the flow of the game. We kind of fought back in the last few minutes. But it comes down to defense, rebounding. That's what it comes down to. So we got a lot of work to do, but I'm excited about what's going to happen in this offseason.
In Tennessee, I went to Tennessee got beat on the boards just by 2, but it's only the second time I think this season it was 42-40 Michigan's favor that Tennessee hasn't won the board battle. They looked out of sync to me early in that first quarter. Just shots were not in the flow. I mean, Ray and Renaya both were struggling, and when Ray and Renaya both struggle, Tennessee has struggled this season, and obviously, for that to happen in the second round of the NCAA tournament, that's horrible timing for the both of them and for Tennessee, because Tennessee struggles when they can't get one of them really going.
Right. No, that's so very true. We did look a little bit out of sync in that first quarter after we got our initial buckets. It's March Madness. You're going to get everybody's best. It's one and done. Unfortunately, rarely do you have the chance to play a bad game and move on, especially nowadays when there's a whole lot more parity in the game. Teams that aren't typically making tournament or getting wins that they don't normally get, anything can happen. So you got to come ready to, outwork, outthink, out-execute the other team every single possession. That's your only mindset. And I feel like when I was watching the game, we didn't have the sense of urgency needed to compete in the national championship game, which means we didn't bring it tonight. So to me, every game is a championship game, especially during March Madness. And we didn't compete like it was a championship game tonight.
The other thing you want to do is a 3 seed is an excellent seed. But the way the NCAA tournament is set up now, you're meeting some really good teams, especially in the second round. And I still say Middle Tennessee was not a 14 seed. They got robbed on that seed to be put at 14. And the better seed you can get, those 1 or 2 seeds, that doesn't make your first 2-round games so difficult. I mean, I think one of the TV people were saying Tennessee, Michigan, really, that's a Sweet 16 game. But you're going to need them earlier in the first round now, and the only way around that is to get a higher seed when the brackets are announced.
Yeah.
Baylor's just doubled up Virginia Tech right now. It's third quarter. It's 53-28.
Wow, that game. I'm going to get back to this South Carolina game. It looked like it was pretty interesting to start. But before we go too much further in the show, Maria, let them know who brings them this show. How are we able to do this?
Yes. OrangeMountainDesigns.com. That is our primary sponsor. Terry Holder has a ton of Lady Vols stuff, Pat Summit stuff. I know everyone's disappointed. She's also got softball stuff. Get behind the softball, Lady Vols. She got all the Pat Summit stuff. Still got that sale going on. It ends today. I know you're disappointed, but shopping therapy is a legitimate therapy. So if you need to drown your sorrow a little bit, she's got some of those shot glasses and those Orange Mountain Designs pint glasses. Just get over there and help yourself out. Also, Blue Water Climate Control, Tennessee Tap House. You know how much I want us to get to some beer soon when we get out of this pandemic. And of course, Sam Strong. One thing you made an interesting point about, Alexis, is coming to play in postseason. And that is something a team has to learn how to compete.
Yep.
There was no NCAA tournament last season. Now every school was in that position. But Tennessee's never it's been 2016 since Tennessee made a Sweet 16. Are they tracking in the right direction? Absolutely. But the more players you can get at the upper part of your roster, those juniors and seniors who have experienced an NCAA tournament, the better off you're going to be.
I mean, yeah, absolutely right. I feel like I sound like a broken record if I say anything past that. To be honest.
One interesting thing Kelly did is that, and she did this from the position of a player. And in the locker room, she said, I didn't have a speech prepared to say goodbye to the seniors, because as a coach, you go in expecting to win. And she heard some of the other players who were coming back already talking about next season and what we're going to do and get ready. And she said she shut that down in that locker room at that moment and said, we need to respect the seniors who are done. Don't let them be hearing you talking about what we're going to do next season. Let's give them a moment. Let's respect these seniors and the pain they feel right now. Then we'll start talking about what we're going to do next season. I thought that was interesting. She said she did it because as a player, it bothered her to be sitting in a locker room, whether she was an underclassman or a senior, and players are already talking about next season, and you're realizing the minute you pull that jersey off, you're done.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
That's it.
It's a wrap, and it is hard to. I hate it because I'm like, why are we talking about what we need to do next year? Why didn't we just do it tonight, or today? And so I understand exactly where Coach Harper's coming from.
And Renaya had Renaya is an excellent post-game interview. I mean, she gives thoughtful answers, and I mean, she's sad. She really is. She's crying. She's emotional. She's got a bright future in front of her. She's going to be making some coin here pretty soon. But she was asked, what would you tell players coming in to this program? And she said, it's special to be a part of this program. She appreciated being a part of this program. It means a lot. She also offered some advice to incoming players. You will have a target on your back and get everybody's best game every time you take the floor, so you better be ready for it. That speaks to the power of Tennessee, because like we said, Tennessee hasn't been in a Final Four since 2008, a Sweet 16 since 2016, but they are still, people see orange and their eyes still light up and they can't wait to go at them because they know that's a big win.
Absolutely. If you're a Lady Vol, despite, our records in the past few years, past decade, you got to respect it. It's the University of Tennessee. Everybody wants that win against us. Everybody wants to say, oh, no, Tennessee's not that good, this, that, and the third. And you got to bring your A game every single night, no matter what level that team is or what rank that team is. If you're not prepared to value every single possession, to be the hardest working player and hardest working team on the court every single night, you're not giving your all for Tennessee.
And you lagged a little bit. Adam wanted to say, Alexis, in your eyes, what happened tonight with the team? I want your true assessment, if you will. What could we have done better? Alexis, all I can say is hit layups, and then I'll let you take it from here. I mean, you can't get a much better shot than right at the rim, and Tennessee missed a bucket load of them.
We missed shots. We were taking hard shots, difficult shots. I think we forced a lot of baskets. We didn't get necessary stops. We weren't able to swing the momentum. We had some missed box outs. Even though the rebounding appeared close on paper, I saw two major possessions where just a legit fundamental box out would have helped us secure that ball, right? So we get a stop and we can go down and get a score. Also, we didn't – I'm trying to think of how to put this. I didn't see anyone step up and say, you know what? Let's go. I got y'all. We will win this game. I missed that leadership. And Maria, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't see it. And there's no on-off switch for leadership. No matter what type of leader you are, you're supposed to lead at all times. So not having that, obviously Davis not having, a stellar game tonight offensively, we truly need that. Ray Burrell, like when they're on, it seems like Tennessee is on, right? And it makes it a lot easier for the two Jordans to get off. Obviously, Tamari didn't really dominate in the paint today because they were all, they were ready. They were ready. I think that Cassie did a good job of knocking down some of those 15-footers that we needed. That's something I wish she would have worked on in the offseason, knowing what they have, dynamic. So I think, it's just a matter of we didn't bring the sense of energy and the sense of urgency that we needed to compete to get to the Sweet 16, to survive and advance. It really is survive and advance. You're going to get everybody's best. We didn't give them our best. So it's hard to come off in a win in any round of the NCAA tournament when you're not giving the other team your best because they're coming to give you theirs. So I think that's the best way to sum that up.
And you and I did an entire show on leadership during the season when we did. And I said, and we even talked about examples. You cannot force someone to be a leader. Pat Summitt thought she could, and Pat and I argued about it till the cows came home. If someone is not a vocal leader, you cannot force them to become one. That has to come from within. And you are correct. We said that earlier this season. Tennessee does not yet have that voice on the court that commands attention and is incredibly vocal. How do you get that? Maturity of some players. I think some young players could have it in them. Kean Green was another example who we saw that from early, the graduate transfer. That is her natural personality. When I say somebody's not a natural leader, that is not a criticism. That is like embedded, in my opinion, in your DNA and your personality. Right. I think a coach does a disservice to try to get a player to do that who's not comfortable doing that. Because you could, so if you're not comfortable doing it, it's going to come through to your teammates that you're not comfortable doing it. Now, can you improve a little bit in that area? Yes. But in terms of that type of vocal, in-your-face leadership, whether you're picking the team up or having to pick yourself up, you have to recruit that. You have to find it in your recruiting matchups. And I'm not saying freshmen come in here and do that. Don't get me wrong. It will evolve. And the more Tennessee gets a balanced roster with multiple upperclassmen and young players, the better Tennessee will get. And Kelly is still trying to put that roster together. She's only had 2 seasons, and 12 months of it has been wiped out by the pandemic in terms of in-person recruiting. I mean, it's just been for a new head coach at a new school, starting in a pandemic is even harder. And
right.
and Tennessee is trying to catch up, and Kelly knows what she wants. She's got a plan in place. And this team played better this season. They got better this season. They won games they should have won. They closed out close games. What happened today? They could not shoot. They could not get a shot to fall. And we've seen this, and I'm sort of rambling on here. We've seen this before, Alexis. Teams know Tennessee is not much of a threat from the arc, so they pack those driving lanes. Yep. And Tennessee was trying to get inside and sometimes got some really good looks inside, but couldn't finish them. And if Tennessee can get a couple shooters who can play both ends of the floor, and that takes time to learn how to guard at this level. It is rare that a freshman comes into college and knows how to defend at this level. It is incredibly rare. You and Anasicki were 2 of the exceptions to that. Pat got lucky. She got 2 of them in one class. But if you can get some shooters that are on that arc that you cannot leave, then teams will have to change their whole defensive approach to Tennessee.
Oh, absolutely. We need shooters. We need finishers. We need people that can finish plays. Like you said, we missed, 17 layups, 12 layups, 10. I don't know how many layups we missed. It was 17. Yeah, you were right. 17 layups. Not being able to extend the defense, you're not going to get the gaps that you're used to getting against weaker teams. and they're forcing you to say, okay, beat us. You're going to beat us behind the arc? Go ahead. We're going to take our chances. So that's definitely going to help. And when it comes to defenders, you have to, same thing you're saying with the leadership, which I agree and disagree. Because you're right the majority of the time, but sometimes as a coach, you can see that kid has it in them, even if they can't. And to be great, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable anyway. So you have to really push them to see if they're capable. Now, you'll be able to find out, do they fold every time you put them in that leadership position or what? Do they make the same mistakes? Are they learning and now making different mistakes, in that aspect? But at the same time, you're right. That's something you need to go out and recruit. Watch those players who you see talking, communicating, and helping teammates, lifting them up, being able to play and compete on both sides of the floor. You got to recruit that. You got to get some dogs in the system. And somebody said we need a bench. 100% agree. 110% agree. No disrespect to our bench. We had some injuries that obviously made our numbers dwindle. But at the end of the day, we got to find 8 to 10 players that can just go, where when a sub is made, the level of play doesn't drop off. The energy doesn't drop off. The expectation doesn't drop off. And I'm not saying Coach Kelly lowers her expectation, but I think as fans, you watch and you're like, this player is going to come in and get turnovers, or this player, is not going to be aggressive, or, not that good on defense. Basically, you have to minimize your liabilities at the end of the day.
And you mentioned injuries. The entire power 4 spot got wiped out. First Keegan went down. Then Jaden goes out. Then Marta Suarez, who was not herself at all in the 2 months of the season with that foot injury, and now, of course, ended up being out for postseason and has had surgery on that foot. That hurt. I mean, when you 3 players who all play power 4, bam, 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 go down. I mean, you need a bench, but it's hard to recover from losing 3 players at the same position to 3 totally different types of injuries. One's a knee, one's a concussion, and then other health matters, and then another one's a foot. And as far as the transfer portal, people are always asking me about that. Now's the time where I have to track it. As far as Tennessee needing additional guards and shooters, they're coming in. I mean, this class of 4 has two bigs who are stretch 4s and 2 guards who are super quick. And Ray Burrell is a 42% 3-point shooter. Ray Burrell can hit shots. She struggled today, and that's going to happen. And as Alexis knows, when your shot's not falling, you got to fall back on your defense. So even more so than shooters are driving point guards who score. Now, both Jordan Walker and Jordan Horston can do that. I look for Jordan Horston to take that huge sophomore to junior leap like Ray Burrell did. I see that happening. Same for Tamari Key. She's going to take that sophomore to junior lead. So as much as you need shooters, and I mentioned that, and scoring point guards, you also need people that can get in a stance and stop someone, because guess what? Sometimes those shots are not going to fall. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah, it comes down to that. Hey, listen, I just saw one of Tony's message. First off, Tony, we're not ignoring you, my guy. Did Maria tell you stop being so sensitive? Secondly, we are very active on Facebook and YouTube today. So it's a little overwhelming what your comment is. So which comment did we ignore? That the team didn't give it its all? So we don't want to ignore you, but you really got to get out your feelings, dude.
That's funny. Adam Macon pointed out that I want to give a shout out to fans who voted in that senior class award for Renia Davis. There are fans out there, and it was legal to vote as many times as you can, who voted for 3 and 4 hours at a time to get Renia. 1/3 of the award comes from voting from fans, and Tennessee fans showed out. They got on that website and loaded it up with votes for Renia Davis. So, Adam, you're right. I mean, the fans were they were reminding everybody and putting it on social media. I mean, as Renaya said, this is a special place to play. And as Pat Summitt said, Tennessee's not for everyone. And Kelly will do the things she needs to do. But, you know, Kelly is a different personality than Pat in terms of she gets after the officials. And y'all know me, I complain about the officials all the time. They allowed for a physical game, which should have benefited Tennessee. And were there some missed calls? Yes. But Tennessee's shortfall in this game was the fact that it struggled offensively and could not hit shots. But, you know, Kelly loves her players. She really does. And she's sad for them. And she's upset. And Pat Summitt was the same way at the end of a season. I mean, the fierce Pat, I mean, she never got over the loss, but the fierce Pat in terms of the players was a different kind of Pat. I mean, because she knew she was losing those seniors.
Right.
So Kelly was legitimately sad to see these kids go. She really appreciated the kids that stayed when she became the new head coach, and she's going to miss them. And just a shout out to those players who did. I mean, they gave their all for Tennessee. Did they have not the way they wanted to go out? Absolutely. But did they give their all for Tennessee? Yes, they did.
Yes, absolutely. They gave their best to the school. Ended sooner than obviously they would hope for. But, you know, lift your head up, seniors. Get ready for the profession. That's the path you're going to choose. And just make sure you continue to work hard, continue to fight for it. And now you have to believe that you now have a personal target on your back as far as people coming for your job on a daily basis. So now your performance is rewarded monetarily, but just protect it. You know, be smart, have fun, and ball out at the end of the day. So definitely wishing y'all luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah, Cassie, I think has a pro career in her future. We've already talked about Renaya. She's being top 5. Harold in the WNBA draft. Harold Denton said, how tall are the two bigs coming in next fall? I think there's like 6'3" and 6'2". They're also what stretch bigs. They can score in the paint and they extend to the arc.
We need that.
So Kelly, the way the game is going now, you need bigs that can get out of the paint. And you also need that anchor big, like a Tamari Key, that can affect shots at the rim on defense and hit short jumpers and elbow shots. And Tamari Key's ceiling is tremendous. While everybody wanted a Sweet 16 or further, I cannot be disappointed with the progress I saw in this team over the last 2 years and especially this year. So, and age is never an excuse. That is a very young team that was on that floor tonight. Only 3 players on that roster had NCAA tournament experience. And they also don't have a deep run in the tournament experience. And those kind of things matter in terms like Kelly will, as Kelly gets the roster built up to be more juniors and seniors, they will make deeper runs. And who does that help the most? The young kids, because they can see what it takes to win. You have to learn how to win and how to be competitive. And that is definitely a process.
It is. That shout out to my seniors and upperclassmen when we came in as freshmen, because they set the bar high from pickup games to practices to, of course, games. So we knew the type of players we needed to be to make those deep runs. I agree with you 100% on that, Maria.
Robin wanted to know, why would you start putting players in when they hadn't played much all season? I mean, Tennessee only played, Destiny Salary and Tess Darby? I mean, they have played this season. You need both of them. I mean, your starters cannot go 40 minutes, particularly if there's any foul issues or shooting issues. I mean, Kelly played the players she has been playing. And Robin, and a more answer to your question, Marta Suarez was that player that was going in quickly. It's 6. Her and Jordan Horston were the first off the bench. Boom, you lose Marta right here going into the NCAA tournament. She just couldn't go with that foot. A foot that needed surgery. So I mean, it's not
Right.
like Kelly started putting in players that hadn't played much because she had a choice. She did not have a choice, and you've got to get some bodies on the floor. And Destiny has had some quality minutes and done some good things. So has Tess Darby. Plus, that builds for next season. I mean, you're trying to win now, but those players have got to get on the floor. They at some point, and they've got to help out. A big Vol Daddy said, I'm not so sure they matter as much this year with the empty arenas. Your thoughts on that? It was weird, but every team played in that same environment, and every team had to adjust to it. I hope next year we're back to normal, but I don't know what normal is going to look like. I don't know where that's at or what it will look like. So I think it affected players, particularly seniors juniors that are used to playing in front of 10,000 fans. I think it's got to be unusual.
Of course, the energy is different. You have to use that energy. You personally, your coaching staff, the little bit of fans that are allowed in there to support you. So it's a whole different vibe from not even being able to really hear your coach as soon as the jump ball is thrown up. But like you said, Maria, every team is playing in this environment. That's not really an excuse, is it?
No, it's been an unusual year. And I do want to say, Tess Darby's just a freshman, but she did her job out there. She did what she was supposed to do. And those minutes are incredibly valuable for Tess Darby going forward as a freshman. She didn't play that many, but she did what she was supposed to do when she got in the game. She did it against Middle Tennessee too. Destiny Salary's another kid that has a very high upside. She can get better. That's what you want freshmen to do. And what you also want is a regular off season. Players were often away from their own school. They could not work out in groups. They could not play pickup. They could not get access to their own locker room. They had all their stuff came in a little bin. And you couldn't even play with the same ball sometimes. You had to play with your ball, shoot with your ball. None of that is conducive to a young team having a normal offseason. And if Tennessee needed anything last summer, it would have been a regular offseason with so many. They had 5 new faces come in, 6. So, don't sleep on Kean Green. Alexis was high on her when she saw her in her first few games because of her motor and her leadership. And she is coming back. She wants to come back, and she will be back.
Yeah, I'm excited to see her get back on the court. I know she's going to be hungry too, so it should get real interesting. Someone asked, I think it was Jessica Gwen, I'm not sure. No, Trina. Trina asked, do you guys think if they would have played zone, they would have played better? I think we stayed in the zone too long, to be honest. I think once we saw what's at stake, we're down 15, 18. We're not really cracking that lead and changing that, getting that momentum back. You got to apply the pressure. You just got to buckle down and play some good, hard-nosed defense and communicate and pray to change the speed of the game, rush them or get them a little flustered and create turnovers. And I think sitting back in that zone, they have scoring options at all 5 positions. It's hard to say stay in the man, stay in the zone, but the way that the game was going, we stayed in the zone too long.
And Tony said, Maria, go ahead.
I was just going to say I was talking about in the second half.
Tony said, Maria, every team went through this. Yes, they did. And it's also why I said the teams that will do better this season are your more experienced teams, the ones with a whole lot of juniors and seniors, because they've been through it. Your incoming freshmen, your freshmen to sophomores, they need an off season. They need more time together. And Tennessee had a kid come from Spain. She'd been in here 2 weeks before practice started. It just was something that Kelly was concerned about. And she even said, your more experienced teams, you're going to see them doing well. Teams who return starters or who have players who have played a lot of minutes and have been on big stages. So, and Michigan is a very good team. I want to point that out.
They are a very good team, and let me publicly say that Michigan did a great job, in my opinion, of wanting it more than us, executing their game plan. I love the leadership. I love the energy. I don't know if y'all really noticed this. Every time a player hit the floor, all the other four players are rushing over to help pick her up. Every time one of them make a mistake, whether it's a turnover, block, get the shot block, cause a foul, whatever it is, it's okay. I got you. Pick you up. And we need that. We got to get back to that because, during the Coach Summit era, I think it was almost automatic. And due to all the change and the adjustments and how everything came about, it got lost. And now, as you now see, the coaching changes. We have younger players. Coach Kelly's about to start getting her players, in the system, her recruited players in the system. And it's going to take time, but I think next year, if we recruit the types of players needed to truly compete for a national championship, we're gonna do a lot better than the second round.
And I mean, Jordan Walker, she's a graduate transfer, will now have a full summer with Tennessee. I mean, she didn't enter the portal until July and didn't arrive until August. She'll be here for a full weight training, full program, full off season. Freshmen become sophomores. Sophomores make huge leaps. If Tamari Key and Jordan Horston do what Ray Burrell did with that huge sophomore to junior leap, Tennessee has like you said, they can go a long way. But the key is what happens in the offseason in terms of who buys in, who commits to the program, who commits to that is a grind. That is no fun in June and July. Working out in the gym. No, there's no glory in that. Nobody's watching. It's just you. And then you also, the transfer portal. We'll talk about that when we do Buck and 2MC shows going forward, but that's a huge game changer for every program. I mean, you have players leave that you don't expect to leave. You can get players in that you didn't expect to have. So now if Tennessee doesn't lose anyone, I want to point out and with 4 coming in, that is a roster of 14. So Tennessee is not going to be raiding that transfer portal if everyone comes back. Now, the big question is, will everyone come back? In the era of the transfer portal, I have no idea. None of us know. And those conversations will start over the next 2 weeks. They'll start to have their one-on-ones with the coach. And sometimes players don't like what they hear in those one-on-ones. And they decide, okay, I'm going to try something else. Sometimes coaches don't like what they hear in those one-on-ones. So now we're in the off season, my least favorite time of year, tracking that damn transfer portal. Here I go.
Good luck with that, Maria. I know it's going to get interesting. I personally hope everyone stays and comes back because that's going to increase our chances of having the type of season we know that these ladies are capable of.
Yeah, and they can do it. I mean, you gotta take steps, and you gotta get better. Jessica said, I watched A&M and Troy, and they had 16 transfers or JUCO players combined on both teams. Blew my mind. Yeah, I think A&M had 8 or something this year. So you don't even know what your opponent's rosters are going to look like next year. And the SEC had a tough day. I mean, Kentucky just got drilled by Iowa State.
Yeah, they did.
It's a tougher landscape now, and players can just like that. They're off your team and they're at another team, and they're going to torment you from that team. So you got to be ready for it. And I think I'm running on adrenaline because I'm just yammering on and on here, Alexis. Thank you for your patience. I will admit, I am worn out. This season wore me out like no other season. I don't know if it's the pandemic or all the changes, or I have never been as tired. I am on fumes. I am literally sliding in on fumes to cover this season. Did I want to keep going? Absolutely. Will I sleep all weekend and drink a ton of beer? Absolutely.
You deserve it, Maria. You deserve it. And then we're going to get you to that rest soon. Just let them know one more time who brings us this show.
OrangeMountainDesigns.com, our primary sponsor. Please go drown your sorrows in a shopping excursion at OrangeMountainDesigns.com. Get your Pat Summit gear, get your Lady Vol gear, get ready for softball. That's a nice outdoor sport, which never know with the weather. I love softball, 2-hour rain delay. I think, I don't know if they have beer yet or not. I know baseball does. I think rain delays are much better with beer. I do know that, no matter where you're watching the game. Also, Blue Water Climate Control, Tennessee Tap House, Sam Strong. As far as the Buck and 2MC show, we know everybody liked it, tuned in. We appreciate it. We want to keep it going in the off season, bring in guests, talk about other sports. Right now, Alexis has some transition things going on with her work that she's working out. I need to go drink and just not think about basketball for about 2 weeks. I still have to work tonight. So we're going to take a couple weeks off, Buck and 2MC, and we will be back. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and we may be Wednesday, maybe Thursday. We'll see what works out as a better night. But Jessica Gwynn, I'm like a squirrel. Lady Vols Soccer plays UNC Saturday, and they do serve beer. There you go, soccer and beer. So that is where we're at. We will keep this show going. We will. Off season, we'll bring in guests, former Lady Vols, other people of interest, like we had Joanne McCallie. And we appreciate you guys tuning in, interacting with us, living and dying with us. And Buck and 2MC show was a highlight of the season for me. I enjoyed it, and I appreciate Alexis doing her thing, and Alex Carter is our producer guy in the background, and Bobby Catfish getting the Lady Vols on his show. So we've had a good run, Alexis, and I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate it. It's been fun. I love the conversations. I love being able to freely cover the Lady Vol sports and give them the respect and attention they deserve. So, yeah, big shout out to Bobby and Billy at the Volunteer Roadshow. Big shout out to Alex, the producer, showing off his skills. That's why we look so fancy and official now. So I'm actually kind of glad that we get a chance to revamp. We'll have some special guests, like Maria said, and we will see you back here in a couple of weeks with new days and times and more coverage of Lady Vol and women's sports.
Peace, y'all. Thanks for everything. Always go Lady Vols. Gotta love them, win or lose.
Bye-bye.